Yes. So in the last class we have done with the supply and the elasticity of supply. So today we have to deal with the production. We have learned through the equilibrium of the consumers. The same way producers has also equilibrium. So now we have to learn about producers' behavior. So for that we have to start with the concept of production. Okay, so production. What is production? Production is the process of turning inputs into outputs. Okay, so production means it is the process of turning inputs into outputs. That inputs may be so many things: raw materials, labor, capital. All such things can be the inputs. So turning that inputs into the output, that process is called production. So there comes a concept called a production function. So production function means it is the functional relationship between inputs and outputs. Okay, so functional relationship between input and output. So that means it is a relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. So in that, independent variable are the inputs and dependent variable is the output. That means the output is dependent on the input what we employ. Understood? So production process, that is the production process is the what we can say, the process of turning inputs into outputs. And production function, so there comes the concept called a production function. Production function means it is the functional relationship between input and output, whereby output is the dependent variable and inputs employed are the independent variable. That means the production process or the production output depends upon the input what we employ. Understood? So that means production function can be depicted as, come on, we'll look at it. So Q is equal to function of factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, etc. up to factor n. It can be raw materials, labor, capital, anything that you have to employ for a production process. But in short, all these factors will be considered as L and K. That is, output is the function of L and K. L means labor, K means capital. So in this, all the variable inputs, like L is variable input. That means you can change it in a short time. But capital is a fixed input. That is, you can only change it in the long period. In short period, capital is fixed. So capital is a fixed factor and labor is a variable factor. So combining variable factor and a fixed factor, you get the output Q. So in economics, output is depicted as Q, labor is depicted as L, capital is depicted as K, capital letter K. So that is the production function. Production function is the functional relationship between input and output. So Q is equal to function of L and K. L and K means L is labor and K is capital. So now we have to look through. There are two types of production functions. That is short run production function and long run production function. Short run production function means whatever be the inputs, you can change it. That is variable input. Okay, only variable input is changed in the short run production function. Only variable input is changed, like labor, raw materials, those things which you can change in the very short time. That is called short run production function. And long run production function means here all the factors are variable. Okay, that means fixed factor as well as the variable factors are variable or can be changed. So in short run production function, only variable factors change. But in long run production function, both both variable factor and fixed factors change. That is, you can say all the factors of production changes. Understood? So short run production function is called returns to factor and long run production function is called returns to scale. Don't forget, short run production function is called returns to factor. That means what factor you are changing, to that what return is getting. That is returns to factor. Then long run production function is returns to scale. So I guess this introduction part is now clear. Now we have to look through returns to factor and returns to scale in detail. So moving on to in the next video we will be in detail we will be looking through the returns to factor thing. Okay. Yes. So now we have to move on to the returns to factor thing. So in detail we have to study what is returns to factor. So as we have already discussed, return to factor means only when variable input changes, what happens to the production. So for that we have to move on to the three concepts, that is total product, marginal product and average product. So total product, that is TP. TP is the total amount of output that is produced in the what you can say in a fixed period of time, that is TP. AP is output per input, that is TP divided by Q. Q can be our number of output or number of input employed. And MP. MP means addition to TP when one more input is employed, one more extra unit of input is employed. So what happens to TP when one more extra unit of input is employed? So marginal. We have already discussed about marginal utility, right? So marginal utility means addition to total utility when one more unit is consumed, one more. So here also when one more input is employed, what happens to TP? Now we have to move on to these formulas. So TP. See, TP is the total output produced in the economy and AP is output per input. Here you can rewrite it as TP divided by L. L means it is the variable input. Now we are talking about returns to factor. So L is number of labors employed. So that can be TP divided by L. That is how much of output a employee or a labor can produce. That is output per input. Then you have MP. MP is the addition to total product when one more extra unit is when one more extra unit of input is employed. That is MPN is equal to TPN minus TPN minus 1. Or again you can rewrite it as delta TP divided by delta Q or delta TP divided by delta L. Why we are taking L here? Because it is returns to factor and only labor can be changed with the short period. Capital you cannot change. So all these factors of production are categorized under this two things. That is all the variable inputs are called labor and all the fixed inputs are called capital. Okay, so that is what you can say TP, AP and MP. Now for moving further you need all these three concepts. So now we are moving on to a law, that is returns to factor. A law is called law of variable proportion. So law of variable proportion, that means law of variable proportion states that, see, as we go on increasing more and more units of input, keeping the fixed factors fixed, the TP initially increases at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate and finally at a negative rate. What is law of variable proportion? As we go on increasing variable inputs, keeping the fixed inputs fixed, the total product initially increases at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate and finally at a negative rate. I hope this is clear. Why fixed factors are remaining fixed? Because it is short run production function. So law of variable proportion operates under short run. Don't forget, put an inverted comma and write in the notes. Law of variable proportion operates only in short run, or it is a returns to factor law. Okay, so that means as we go on increasing more and more units of input, finally like the total product initially increases at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate and finally at a negative rate. Come on, we will go with an example now. You are working in a factory. You have a machine there. Okay, in that machine, first day like you are the boss. Okay, and you have 10 to 11 people working under you. So you are just starting with first labor. One day you have employed one labor, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Till 5th labor. See, only 5 labors are needed to work in that machine. So till 5th labor you will get more and more units of TP. Okay, now also you are thinking that okay, now also like more labors can be added. So what you will do, you are adding on to the 6th labor, 7th labor, 8th labor and 9th labor. So by 9th labor you are getting total product, but not as much as increased in the first stage, that is up to 5. They are increasing to the total product, but actually in the first stage the first 5 people are producing 150 per unit, 150 per day, but these people 6 to 9 people are only producing maybe 75, 80 like that, but it is added to the TP. Okay, now 10th one is coming. 10th one, he has no work to do in that machine because machine is fixed. You cannot increase the number of machines. So keeping fixed factors fixed, as we go on increasing more and more units of inputs, that is labor in our example, up till 10th labor, like 9th labor, you are getting maximum TP. Okay, now what happens? What happens? MP is 0 now. In the 10th unit of labor, he has nothing to do in that. So only 9 people are needed to work in that machine. So if you put 10th man in that, he has nothing to do. So what happens? His MP has turned 0. He is not producing anything. So ultimately TP starts falling and MP starts to go to negative. And again you are employing one more person, that is the 11th person. What they will do? They will destroy the machine, right? They will destroy the machine. So you will be having to incur more cost to now correct it. So that is the example. See, as we go on increasing more and more units of input, keeping the fixed factors fixed. Okay, the initially the what you can say, the total product increases at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate, then finally at a negative rate. Understood? The 10th and the 11th person is the example for negative rate, and 1 to 5 is the example for increasing at an increasing rate, and 6 to 9 is the example for increasing at a diminishing rate. Why it is called increasing at a diminishing rate? The TP is increasing but not as much as in the first stage. Understood? So now we have to look through the schedule now. So that is tabularly represented. So input, first labor, second labor, third labor, fourth labor, fifth labor, sixth labor. So here if you see the change in labor is shown as marginal. That means one more extra unit of input. And TP is 10, 28, 45, 52, 52, 48. MP is 10. How you got 10? In the first thing, you don't have anything to change. So that is 10. Then 28 minus 10 is 18. TPN minus TPN minus 1. Then 45 minus 18 is 17. Then 52 minus 17 is, yes. So first one it is 10 itself. Now 28 minus 10 is 18. 45 minus 28 is 17. 52 minus 45 is 7. And 52 minus 52 is 0. Like that you will get the MP schedule. And 48 minus 52 is minus 4. So like this you are completing the TP and MP schedule. Now here if you see, TP is initially increasing at an increasing rate. Okay. Initially at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate. See, if you see here MP is decreasing. Here itself MP is increasing, reaching maximum, starts to decrease. And here also TP is increasing. We will continue that in the next video. Yes, continuing with that. See, in the first phase itself MP is increasing and reaching maximum and starts to decrease. In the second stage, TP is increasing but MP is showing a diminishing rate. So that means TP increasing at a diminishing rate. Then in the third stage, that is the 11th labor, if you employ, that will show a negative rate of growth. That is TP starts to fall with a negative MP. Understood? So that is law of variable proportion. And this alone phase, second phase alone, is called law of diminishing returns. That means the falling part of MP. I don't know whether you remember or not, law of diminishing marginal utility, that is the falling part of marginal utility curve. Here the second stage alone is known as law of diminishing marginal returns, that is the falling part of marginal product curve alone. Okay, now we have to depict it through a diagram. So this is the diagram for law of variable proportion. So law of variable proportion, so here you can see a TP curve and MP curve. See TP in the first stage, as we have learned, it is increasing at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate, and finally at a negative rate. Okay, so in the first stage, see MP is becoming maximum, that is the point of inflection. MP is increasing, becoming maximum, and starts to fall. So here you have the first stage. So this much is the first stage. Second stage, the falling part of MU alone is the second stage. See here also still TP is increasing, but at a diminishing rate. Then here TP is maximum. In our example 52. After 52 it is coming as 48. So TP is falling. So that means in that case MP is negative. So you have to go through what you can say, the three relationship between TP and MP. There is a question, so you have to take down the relationship. When what you can say, when TP is increasing, MP is increasing and positive. When TP reaches maximum, MP is 0. When TP starts to fall, MP turns negative. So these are the three relationships between TP and MP. And here see this thing. This stage is alone called law of diminishing returns. I hope this is clear now. That is law of variable proportion. So that is I will be posting the photo also. I will be posting the photo for the reference. You have to write the table as well as the diagram. When you draw the diagram, you have to be very careful. That is, in the first stage, it is not the highest point of MP. MP has to start falling. So in the book that is mentioned, in the Agarwal book, it is mentioned wrong. So please go through that. Actually, the diagram which I have shown you here is the correct diagram. In the Agarwal diagram, they have divided the part 1, the stage 1 with the what you can say highest point of MP. It is not true. It is actually the MP in the first stage itself. MP increases, reaches maximum, starts to fall. Just starts to fall. So in that point, part 1 comes, or the stage 1 comes. Okay. Now we have to move on through the reasons why you have these three stages. Reasons for increasing returns to factor, reasons for diminishing returns to factor, and reasons for negative returns to factor. Okay, in that first one is reasons for increasing returns to factor. In that first one is fuller utilization of resources. So in our example, what I told you was the 5 employees. So in that 5 employees are utilizing the resources very optimal use of resources. So there it is, fuller utilization of resources. Then division of labor. So first labor may be switching on the light, second labor may be starting the machine. So they are actually dividing the work properly. After the 6th worker came, they don't have much work to do, but they are helping. That is why there is a diminishing returns to factor. So these two reasons are the reasons for increasing returns to factor. And reasons for diminishing returns, disturbing the optimum population. Actually 5 was only needed there, but 6 to 9 that labors were actually disturbances for them. Still they were producing. So that is the disturbances to optimum population. Then imperfect substitutability of factors of production. That means 6 to 9 is actually not needed there, but actually they are helping the production process. So first one is disturbing the optimum population and imperfect substitutability of the factors of production. 6 to 9 is not needed to work that capital. Only 1 to 5 labor is needed to work that capital. So perfect substitution means 5 labors and 1 machine. 9 labors and 1 machine means disturbing the optimum population. Understood? So there will be a problem. Sometimes machine will stop working if you put 11th labor also. So that means it is an increased cost for you. You have to, you have to make it correct. So that will incur cost for you. And causes for negative returns, overcrowding. 11 people, only 5 was needed. Now we have employed 11 people. So that is overcrowding. Then management problem. Suppose a manager can only manage 5 people at a time. But here it is 11 people. So that means management problem will come. So that is why it is negative returns to factor. So this is law of variable proportion. So you have to state the law and you have to show with the tabular representation, that is the law of variable proportion schedule, and also the diagram. Diagram, when you draw, you have to be extra careful. That is when you mark the stage 1. That is when MP is more like increasing, reaches maximum, starts to fall. There actually the stage 1 ends. Okay, please don't refer to the Agarwal diagram for that. Please refer to the diagram which I am giving you. Okay, so now, so that is like you have reasons for 3 of these stages also. The causes for increasing returns to scale was fuller utilization of resources, and also the division of labor. And causes for diminishing returns was imperfect substitutability of the factors of production and disturbances to fuller utilization. Then negative returns comes to the causes of negative returns comes to as overcrowding and management problem. So I guess now this is clear for you. You have to list everything one by one and write. That is like that gives you a 6 marks answer. Okay. So like in the next video we have to look through what is the relationship between AP and MP. Okay. So in this video itself you have to find out the relationship between AP and MP also. We have discussed already what was TP and MP. Here you can see a MP curve and a AP curve. So here when MP is greater than AP, AP rises. See, MP curve is on the top and AP curve is on the below. So MP is greater than AP, AP rises. When MP is equal to AP, AP is constant. And when MP is less than AP, see here AP is on the top position and MP is on the under position. So that means AP is greater than MP. So MP is less than AP. So AP falls. AP starts falling. So when MP is greater than AP, AP rises. When MP is equal to AP, AP is constant. And when AP is less than when MP is less than AP, AP starts falling. This is the relationship between AP and MP. This diagram also you have to draw very carefully. That is when MP and AP should be greater than, less than or equal to at the same positions. Okay. So in the next diagram, like in the next video, we have to look through what is returns to scale. This much was discussed in the returns to factor or in the short run production function. Okay, now we will move on to the long run production function, that is the returns to scale. That is in the next video. Yes, so now we have to move on to the returns to scale. So returns to scale, you don't have any theories to study and all, but you have 3 concepts to study there. Okay, so the first one is increasing returns to scale, and the second one is constant returns to scale, and the third one is diminishing returns to scale. So here you are replacing negative with constant. So increasing returns to scale means the amount of which you employ the input, if you get more than that of the output, that is called increasing returns to scale. I'll post an example. Then constant means whatever amount you are employing the input, same amount of output is generated, means you can have a constant returns to scale. And diminishing returns means you can see like whatever input you employ, less than that of the output is generated, means that is called diminishing returns to scale or decreasing returns to scale. So these are the 3 concepts, that is increasing returns to scale, constant returns to scale, diminishing returns to scale. Now you have to have a differentiation between returns to scale and returns to factor. So moving on to that, so you have to make 2 tables and in the two columns, returns to factor, returns to scale. That I'll be posting, but you can understand it now first. And returns to factor, only one input is changed. It operates in short run and factor proportion changes and no change in scale of production. So in the returns to scale, all inputs are changed, operates in long run, factor proportion remains same, and change in the scale of production. So these are the 4 points of differentiation between returns to factor and returns to scale. So this is the production area. Now in the next class, we will be dealing on with the cost. So we have to deal with the cost, revenue. Then only we can achieve arrive at producer's equilibrium. Okay. In the consumer's behavior, what we have all learned? Utility we have learned, cardinal analysis we have learned, ordinal analysis we have learned. So we need tools for this. So for arriving at producer's equilibrium, first tool was production. Now we will move on to the cost, then revenue, then comes the producer's equilibrium. Okay, so that will be dealing with in the next class. So this part, first part of the theory, this production chapter is finished. That is with the production. So in the next class we will be dealing on with the cost. Thank you.